and start the recording. We will get started. Everybody, I am so glad to have Caroline Turner with us today from Quirky Buds. This is the first time we've been able to get Caroline on one of our webinars, so it's a new topic for us and I'm really looking forward to it. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We will be recording this and sending it out after the webinar is complete to everybody who registered. We're also going to save this webinar to our YouTube channel as we do with all of our webinars. So you can go over to YouTube and look up Consolidated Planning Group, and all of our webinars are there. So today we're going to be talking about finding a bud for yourself or your child. Finding people who are going through the same kinds of things that you are going through is sometimes really difficult, and it can feel very, very lonely out there in the world of special needs. You feel isolated, especially with this pandemic we've been going through. So Caroline has some suggestions and tips and a way to help solve those issues. She is a social worker and has a passion for connecting families and individuals together. So please welcome Caroline. Thank you so much for being here with us. I do want to let you all know that we cannot see you or hear you. We know you're out there because I can see the little counter at the bottom of my screen. I know you're there. But if you have any questions or comments, or you want to throw out an idea or a story of your own, please do, and feel free to put that in the chat. We'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. Again, I am with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We do a lot of work with protecting families, plans to protect your family and your children throughout the rest of their lives. Lifetime care plans, transition planning, ABLE accounts, and we do a lot of education and advocacy for special needs families. The reason is because the owner of our company, Allison Schaberg, she has 4 children together with her husband. It's between the 2 of them, they have 4 children, and 2 of their girls have special needs. So when her children were coming into teenage years and kind of starting to hit all those milestones and all those times when you really need to start planning and start thinking about benefits and resources and things to get your kids into, she said, why is this so difficult? I've been a financial advisor for years and I know what I'm doing, but I don't know this stuff. And so she kind of turned the company focus to this path of education and advocacy for special needs families. So that's why we're here today. And 3 or 4 times a week, we do these free educational webinars. I'm sure some of you have joined us in the past, and some of you are new to us. So welcome. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Caroline. And if you would just let me know when you're ready for the next screen, we'll go right ahead.
Cool. Yes. Can you go to it looks like we're still on the planning for special needs one.
Okay. And then I probably have to, is it there or do I need to stop my share and reshare?
It still just is on the main screen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop my share then. You can all look at us up close for a second. Hey, smile big, Caroline.
Hello, hello.
And here we go. Now we should see.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So thank you so much for having me and for the intro, Michelle. Like she said, my name is Caroline Turner and I'm a social worker in Austin, Texas. I went to the University of Texas for my master's degree and have been here ever since. So I've been in Austin over 11 years and I'm like, does that make me an official Austinite? I'm not sure, but I will claim it.
You're here nonetheless.
Yes, thank you. And I currently work full time for Dell Children's Ascension. And this Quirky Buds is totally separate from them. I want to make sure to say that, but they do know about it and are supportive and everything, but it doesn't really relate to Ascension at all, and is separate from them. So I also was hoping Evan was going to join me. He just messaged me. He's trying to find the link. So if he jumps on, I'll have him introduce himself. But just kind of a long-term individual I've worked with in the past. And I mean, I'd probably call him a friend at this point. So if he can join, then he'll share a little bit about his own experience, and I'll have him introduce himself.
Okay.
But today we're just going to talk about Quirky Buds and kind of friendship, especially post-pandemic. I guess we're still in the pandemic, but pandemic times have been really difficult for families, and kind of just an extra resource I started to help hopefully combat some of the isolation that's been happening. We go to the next slide. So first and foremost, I think we all know on some level the importance of friendship and connectivity for all of us. But you probably have heard before, at some point, we're all just hardwired to be connected. That's something that we know about individuals and the brain. We want to be connected to people and have some sort of community. And research tells us over and over again that there's positive correlation between friendship and mental health. This increases, a sense of belonging, self-confidence, and really, if we have, close friendships as teenagers, we're less likely to be depressed or anxious later in life. So it's really important overall for all of us, right, to be connected and have close friends. This is even true for people who are neurodiverse. I think that a common misconception, especially when we talk about autism, is that people with autism, they don't want to connect, or they're fine being alone. And in reality, that's most likely not true, because, like all of us are hardwired to connect. People with autism or neurodiverse needs want to connect as well. And most people with neurodiverse needs actually like to connect with other people who are neurodiverse. So I think as neurotypical people, which basically means people without autism or differences in our brain structure, we think like, oh, we have to make accommodations, or we should get individuals who are neurodiverse to act more like us. And in reality, they actually just want to be friends with people who are like them, who are similar to us. We want to be friends with people that are similar to us. So that is something that just to think about, because sometimes it's hard to find, people who might have similar interests, no matter what they may be, or, who have different abilities similar to your own. And one of the things, I think is so interesting when we talk about social skills, or helping people make friends, is that most of us are also hardwired to be nice. So somebody who we're trying to make a new friend with, even if they don't really want to hang out with us, they usually are like, oh, it's so good to meet you, oh, maybe some other time. And eventually we have to pick up on the clues or cues that they don't really want to be our friend. And that can be difficult if you have a hard time picking up on those subtle cues. So this is another thing when we talk about making new friends or keeping friends, it's really difficult to find somebody who is going to be really honest and a true friend. So that's just something I think, we're all hardwired to be nicer. And in reality, we need some just honest feedback sometimes.
That's so true, Caroline.
We can go to the next slide. Okay, so what are some ways that we all make friends? And please, obviously, put anything in the chat if you want. I also see some names in the audience that are familiar, so I'm happy to see you all.
Good.
But if you have thoughts or, you want to expand, please jump in, because I'm open to that. But anyway, so ways that we make friends. I think, one of the main ways we all make friends, right, is kind of through school or community outings or clubs, things like that. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more down the line, but it is really, difficult, especially right now, again, with the pandemic, but also with the way that social media has impacted us. A lot of times we don't feel like we need to go out and meet people because we are connected on Instagram or connected on Facebook. And in reality, those aren't really real connections. And so while it might feel like a lot, we want to have this it's really important to find like somebody we can actually meet with in person.
I don't know about you, but I have found myself walking through the grocery store and somebody comes up to me and talks to me like they know me and have known me for years, and I have no idea who they are. And then they say their name. Oh yeah, I know you on Facebook. I know them in real life. But they think like, because we're connected on Facebook, that I should just remember everybody. And my memory is just not that good. They have way too much faith in my abilities.
So true. Yes. And it's hard when you're like, oh yeah, I do know a lot of random information about a lot of different people, but not like one person I feel super connected with. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, so what do we know about friendship factors? And I do want to say, this is from some of my own just reading and research, but then also I am trained in the peers curriculum, which is a social skills curriculum of how to make and keep friends. And so some of this is pulled from them as well. They have great resources if y'all want to check out their website. It's through UCLA. But with that being said, one of the main friendship factors we know for all people is that's this first little painting is that we want to have a common interest with someone. So we want to have something that, we can talk about, whether that be food or sports or something more particular. As I'm talking about this, if anybody wants to put in the chat, your own common interest or your own specific interest or your child's interest, I love hearing about them because I do think, we kind of put very big categories on things like gaming or sports, like I said, or trains and automobiles. And I think, it is more unique sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For me, sometimes, you could say, oh, I love music. But if I find somebody else who truly loves the Beatles the way I love the Beatles, it's all over. We're from there on out. Now, everybody really likes music pretty much. I don't know of anybody who doesn't, but sometimes you have to be a little bit narrower focused to find somebody that you're really going to connect with. Or dogs. I have 3 large dogs and I love them and I love dogs, but I don't necessarily like, little fluffy ankle biter type of dogs.
Yes.
So you've got to be, you have to narrow it down a little bit to find someone who truly gets you.
Yep, exactly. And I think that is one of the things for sure, because when we talk about common interests and, what that might mean for someone, right? Like even history, like we have, thanks. I was like, oh, we got a chat, but that was Michelle. Thank you.
Starting things off, kicking it off for you.
Kicking it off. Yeah. Tell us what you like. But yeah, even at the clinic, we have an individual who really loves, oh gosh, now I can't remember, like postmodern history. And it's like, okay, that's really specific and needs, something specific. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Antique electric fans. Lights and collects electronics, loves repairing them. That's awesome. And I feel like, that is something that may not be the next person down the street's interest, but I'm sure there's somebody else out there that is very interested in electric fans as well.
Another thing, Caroline, is that, if even though I might not be interested in antique electric fans, maybe it's something that I'd be like, oh, I would like to hear more about that and what you love about it and what brings that to your world. Why did you get into that? It gives me a way to be able to open the door to talk to you more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of knowing what it is, because I do think you're right. This, like, sometimes I think, as neurotypical people too, we try to encourage not talking about your special interest. But when we make friends, we get to talk about our special interests all the time, even as neurotypical people, right? Like I'm like, I can talk, like you just said, your dog, I can talk about my dog forever. And my friends know all the ins and outs of him. But if, I'm saying all of that to a stranger, that's not something that they really want to hear that much about. Love that. Yeah. Let's see. I was just going to read this too. She always is changing. Yeah. And sometimes I think it is changing too. And changing sometimes who they're with, what their interests might be, or changing even, a special interest as people get older. So sometimes it might be, as a young child, a girl, for example, again, this is going to be kind of stereotypical, but maybe it's like dolls or unicorns. And as you get a little bit older, maybe it morphs into gaming or, even horses and like something connected a little bit. I think it can be hard, especially if sometimes with girls too, depending on the situation, they do try harder to fit in. So they'll kind of sometimes change what they're interested in based on who's around them. But I think, the most important thing is this, to know most friendships are built on common interests, and even, utilizing that to then go do activities together, whether it be going to see a movie about dogs or going to a antique store to look for fans or things like that. Loves rocks. Any geology peeps out there, I love that. Because again, I think that is something that can change. And also if it's something that like your son's really interested in rocks, and maybe he could connect with somebody who's really interested in dinosaurs, or something kind of similar, where they can kind of share that interest, and go do things that might be similar together, like, I don't know, a kids
Maybe
museum.
your families could get together and go to the Museum of Natural History.
Yeah, that's what I was like, go to the museum, something a little bit connected, but
Or
yeah.
do some geocaching. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I love that. So that's kind of the first important thing. The second one, where the kids are like doing a pinky swear. Oh, geologist in the crowd, amazing. So this is kind of just thinking about mutual motivation and this like no power differential. So oftentimes, we talk about friendship, and also when we're helping people make new friends, we want to make sure they don't pick a friend who has a big power differential. Basically what that means is not only like age, for example, sometimes that can be a power differential, but also status, which sounds like, I don't know.
They're kids. They don't have status.
I know it sounds kind of like hard to describe, but sometimes, in middle school or high school, especially, kids start to be more like in the popular group, or, maybe it's like the head, I don't know, cheerleader or something. And basically, this is just important to think about, because sometimes, like I said too, people will come off as very nice, and in reality, they may be more manipulative, or just trying to utilize a friend to let them do whatever they want. And that's not a real friendship. So even when we talk about like get-togethers or having a conversation, all of that should be equal. Like, we should choose together what we're going to do. We should have equal back and forth conversation. And basically that's just important to really feel like you're, a part of the friendship, and nobody is kind of like the head person. And that's important just in like an authentic friendship. This third one is the sharing, as I kind of mentioned, but just kind of sharing things back and forth, sharing interactions, and really, like I said too, taking turns. Oh, thanks. Hi, Evan. I don't know where you are. That's okay. I just saw Evan was on. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to keep talking, but I couldn't send you the link. I apologize. Anyways, but this sharing back and forth is important when we talk about even like get-togethers and choosing, what y'all are going to do together. That should be kind of a joint thought. And then this last one is really location, right? So even though it seems like, we can connect, like we were talking about, via social media and online, it's actually really important to see people in person. And basically that's just because we know frequent interaction is a great way to build friendship. And so frequent interaction, this location piece is really important when you're trying to build authentic interactions. And so that's why we basically have this little location piece to say the closer you are to somebody or the more you can interact with them, it helps kind of create that connection.
Well, that goes right along with the question that we have. Do you know if there are any groups that include autistic kids in the Northwest Houston area, like Cypress, and then also maybe Katy?
I don't personally, it looks like to who I think they were addressing Tammy, but you know, I'm always happy to do a little digging and then, you know, share more too about what I'm doing, which might be helpful for you. I think we can go to the next slide.
Oh, I went the wrong way, I think. There we go.
Okay, so basically, Quirky Buds, which is a website that I started just back in April, combines most of all of those friendship factors that I just spoke about. And I started this. I actually just saw the mom yesterday who inspired me to start this. But I was telling Michelle, I was like, you know, this has been a conversation or a thought in my head for almost like 10 years now. But because I keep hearing from parents and some self-advocates that it's really hard to find people in your area that like the same things that your child does, or that are the same age, or you know, interact in the same way. And the main ways that I think the options that we have to do that right now are like posting in a Facebook group, right? Like saying like, hey, I live in Katy, Houston area, and I have a child who's X years old and I'm looking for this. That can be really scary because it's public facing, there's a lot of people, and it may not be the way that you want to announce to the world about, you know, your family or what's going on in your personal life. So you know, I hear often from parents, especially at the clinic too, like, can you just set me up with somebody in the area that you know? And I'm like, well, I can't because of HIPAA. And, you know, I would love to do that, but it's not really what I'm doing right now. So I had a parent back in April say this to me again, and we were on a support group and I just got off the group and I was like, you know what, forget it, I'll just do it. So that's how Quirky Buds was born. And I just, you know, I'm a social worker, as I mentioned. So it was, you know, me Googling like how to get a domain name and how to do this. And basically just started the website quirkybuds.com to specifically address this kind of matching issue. So what it is it's just a private matching system to help connect you to buds nearby. And you know, each week I send out an email on Tuesdays that say like, hey, here are the new buds in your area. And here's how you connect with other people. Thank you. And so with that, you know, one of the things that I love seeing kind of talking about special interests and then Quirky Buds is that, you know, we are matching people, and by we, I mean me, it's just me. But I am matching people based on special interests. And so I ask, you know, like, what is your child's interest? And I have about maybe 7 categories right now for people to choose from, or you can write one in. And so really trying to connect people based on special interest, age, and location. And, you know, I will say to your point too, I think Amber, that, you know, are there any groups in Houston? So that being said, sometimes in these areas that as we kind of start matching people to, if there is not the specific interests that match, but the ages are close, I will still match all just so that you have somebody to kind of start that communication with if you want. But just to know, sometimes it's not perfect on the interests, but I'm hoping that as we grow, that could be more specific because I know that's such an important part of friendship. One of the things too that I just think is kind of, you know, something to think about as with neurodiverse friends and kind of, you know, working on this is that we do have like some tips about, trying to like be safe when you do this and kind of reaching out to people to make sure that we are not just like oversharing or jumping right in. And so that's also why it's just an email that's being sent out. And kind of, this kind of basic, just let's get together and start this process. Similar to when I was talking to Michelle, almost like a dating site or app. But even less than that, because you're not getting anyone's picture, you're not getting a ton of personal information. All you're getting is their email, age, and their interests. Topics that I'm hearing about, just from Quirky Buds, which I think is really fun, are a lot of different interests and also kind of neurodiverse diagnosis, but then also people who have written in and just said, I want my child to be inclusive, so we are just signing up for this to be open to different types of friendship. And here's what we're interested in. So that from, somebody who has signed their child up who's nonverbal and uses an augmentative communication device and wants to meet somebody who also uses augmentative communication. And then, just thinking about other groups for y'all, because I know this is not the end all be all, but really thinking about, and as we've mentioned, Facebook, Meetup, those types of things. There are a ton of parent support groups that I know parents have joined for us and said like, this could be a way to connect with other people and things like that. But there are other ways to find people. This is just something that I started to try to help address, like this very niche of meetings, just a few people. You can go to the next one. Yeah. And one thing I just want to say before, any questions or thoughts, right now, I plan on this being free for the foreseeable future, if not forever, because we don't have to. There's lots of great apps and things out there that we all utilize that are free. So this is totally free for parents, also for adults. We're currently, our biggest kind of people that are participating are in Texas, but we are actually in 5 states right now of people signed up and have over 150 buds, as I call them right now. And 30% of those are actually over the age of 18. So there is kind of this, we're open to all ages. I think our oldest that has signed up is in his 60s and our youngest is about 2. So really, just trying to focus on that whole range. And we are mostly, like I said, in Texas, but have other people signing up kind of daily from different areas. I think that's it.
Could you walk us through a little bit? You mentioned that you send out an email that has, these are the new people in your area. If I received that email and I saw, okay, this person mentioned that they have a Great Dane and I would love to talk to them about their dog and hang out with them, and it looks like they're close by, what happens from there? How does the process work?
Yeah, so then it's really up to you. So basically I put in the email as well, like, what should you do next? And the next steps are really reach out. So send an email to your bud directly and say like, hey, I'm Michelle, love Great Danes too. To just have that first interaction via email and something safe. And then if you feel like, great, I do enjoy this person, meeting in a public space. And I do get a lot of questions about safety. And there's some terms and conditions that people have to sign off on before signing up. But it is something that, it's a risk with meeting anyone online, like whether it be Facebook, whether it be, like I said before, a dating app. And so really, I would just encourage people to have a few interactions back and forth before trying to meet up in person, and then also meeting in a public space, going with somebody else, things like that. So that's how it works. And really, I've had people ask like, could you do like meetups, or could you do thank you, or could you also give out phone numbers? And to me, that is not really, this is like the safety piece, is like the email is, so kind of the safest way to connect with somebody without giving out too much of their private information. And then on top of that too, I could do meetups, but then that would just be another meetup group. So this is kind of more about trying to find more individual people, one-on-one kind of hangouts than like a big meetup group.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is if you do, group gatherings, I think that would be cool. So you say for right now, it's just you running this on your own and working
Yeah.
hard on it. What kind of, hey, we had a geologist in the group. Maybe we have a web designer or something. What do you
That'd be
need?
great. Yeah.
What do you need, Caroline?
No, it's honestly been not too bad now that I've gotten into a rhythm, that's for sure. And Google has the wonderful feature of like setting emails to go in the future. So I do a little bit each day, and then it kind of, so it's not all on Tuesday where I'm like, oh my goodness. But yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience, and it's something that I think has been helpful. I've been trying to get feedback from people. And so last week we got a sponsor to give us 2 gift cards to Amy's Ice Cream. And so, there's Evan. And
Yay.
so that's something that, I was hoping to get feedback for and then give out those gift cards to hear how it's going.
That
Hey,
would be
Evan, can you hear us?
fantastic. It looks like he is connecting and getting all set up. And Evan, when you do get set up and unmute yourself, we would love to hear your story too. As a matter of fact, my
Unmute.
son is also named Evan.
Hello, can you hear and
Oh.
see me now?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, again, I apologize for that. I'm on vacation and I had to deal with a whole bunch of, I keep getting signed out due to security issues with Google, and I have to keep sign in and sign out again.
No worries. We get it. This Zoom is a lot,
I understand, but again, I apologize for being late. I know it's not an excuse.
You're okay. Hey, Evan, we were just talking about, I know you were listening in there for a minute, but would you just mind telling people who you are? And I know we had talked a little bit about just like ways that you've made friends or things that have been helpful for you.
Yes, yep, of course, my name is Evan Sines. I actually, I have a lot of hobbies and interests, and I did have trouble making friends for a bit, but one of the things that I learned one of the ways in which I began to make friends was that I was resistant. Naturally, I'm an introvert, but and I was resistant to making friends, but however, this is a skill that doesn't just apply to autistics, but it's something that everyone struggles with. Like, sometimes you may be resistant to letting some people into your circle or to give someone a chance to be your friend, but that's how I made most of friends, is that I decided to make the decision to, hey, I'll give them a chance, and now I have some of my best friends for life.
Love that. What are your interests when you look for friends?
I know this may seem unusual, but I try not to necessarily always associate through common interests. It's a great way to bond, but sometimes how you get along with someone is when you're able to bond and love each other for your differences and not just what you have in common.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's a skill or an acquired taste, such as one of my mentors for a hobby I'm involved in. He tells me, he was the one who really put it well. He and his wife have different views. She's a radical feminist, and he is not a feminist. He he thinks that feminism is that feminists are just trying to turn things to overthrow. He just thinks that feminists are trying to replace the patriarchy with a matriarchy and discriminate against men. But he's more, but in spite of this, she's more conservative while he's very liberal. But they don't let it affect but instead of fighting about it, they just tease each other about it, and it makes them love each other even more.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that earlier in terms of like, if you meet somebody who's really interested in, like, I know you You like to cook, yeah?
I do. I'm getting
Yeah.
back to it.
Yeah, like if you met somebody who doesn't like to cook, it might be okay because you could cook for them and tell them about that.
Yep, and one of the things that I was thinking about is that I was thinking that that like I mean, in case you want roommates, maybe you'd have one who's capable of doing the laundry, and then one person who's really clean and a neat Nick do the laundry, and then another person who's real into cooking do all the cooking, and then one person who's good at technology do all the technical work and the Wi-Fi and stuff.
Yeah, so true. It's
Yeah,
important to have that balance when you kind of meet people for sure.
yes, and then but at the same time, you also have to learn to. It's not always easy to get along with people you always live with. Like I always fight with my mom and my uncle at times.
Totally. I hear that.
Because because my uncle's a hoarder and my mom's a control freak.
Well, it also is different when you still live with your parents. It can be hard to kind of balance that out, right?
Yes, because one of the things that's hard about, and parents, this is important for you too. Sometimes you're gonna have to learn to accept that sometimes you're gonna have to learn to accept to let kids make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And I know it's very hard. It's something that I struggle with my mom with. Like, I mean, she has a hard time. A lot of parents, for many people, it's very hard to transfer from the stage of going from parent to child to adult.
Mm-hmm. And
That is
sometimes,
very difficult. Yeah, even with kids who are neurotypical, it's hard. It's hard with any family, I think, when your kids start growing up and sometimes the parents aren't quite ready to let go.
for sure.
Yes, but like, I mean, just learning to let go and because I mean, even if your kids make a mistake, at least they'll learn from it and grow.
Yep.
Well,
Well, I know you just joined, but we're gonna pause. We might pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions. Is that okay?
I will, thank you. I understand. I'll stay on just so there's no more technical difficulty, but feel free to pause.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, whether for Caroline or Evan or myself? We do have a couple more slides to go through as it relates to Consolidated Planning Group and what we do. But I don't want to be too salesy. I would like to just let you know what we do if you're new to seeing our webinars. But while I do that, how about if you guys put any questions or comments that you have in the chat box? I'll get through my spiel real quick and then we can get back to the good stuff with Evan and Caroline. So some of the things that we do and some things that should be on your radar are here on the screens, helping to develop a comprehensive special needs plan for the future of your child. We look at future care cost estimates, not while you're here, of course, you're taking care of your child and you're paying for things as they come up, but there might be a time when you're gone and they need care in the future. So how much is that going to cost and how can you save for that and plan for that cost? Are your children on the waiver interest list for the state of Texas or whatever state you might be in? We focus mainly on Texas, but we can help people all over the country, and we do. SSI benefits and SSDI benefits. We help people understand the difference between those two things and know when and how to apply and what the rules are so that you don't mess up those benefits for yourself or your children. ABLE accounts, making sure your children are designated correctly as beneficiaries, which typically with a child who has some special needs, they should not be listed as a beneficiary at all, unless it's in a trust. That is one way to keep from messing up their SSI benefits. Again, a special needs trust, how to fund that trust, the fact that if there's child support, if there's a situation where the child support continues beyond age 18, that needs to be put into a special needs trust. If a residential living facility might be in your future, or a group home or things like that, you might want to consider looking at those early. I mean, as early as age 15, maybe, because there could be a long waiting list. There could be a 5 to who knows how long waiting list on your favorite nearby facility. So you want to think about those things too. Consider guardianship and any alternatives to guardianship. You might want to get a power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, things like that. Guardianship, you can start working on 6 months before your child turns 18. And this is something that everybody really needs to think about. If you have someone who is turning 18, and for example, my son goes to college in Chicago, my husband and I and my other child live here in Texas. If something happens to my son in Chicago and he didn't sign that healthcare power of attorney because he's 21, they won't listen to me. They won't let me know he's in the hospital. So those things are really important, whether there's a disability or a neurodiversity, or whatever your family might have. Also, you want to think about what's going to happen after high school. We help with transitions and planning and thinking about the different programs and resources available. This is our team. We are all located just outside of Houston, except for Meredith. She gets to live out on the West Coast. It's gorgeous out there in the Seattle area, I think. But the rest of us are here in Houston. We're just a small firm. When you call us, you're literally just calling our cell phones or calling our office, where we do have some staff to help us with paperwork and appointments. And Meredith is our marketing guru. She helps set up all these great webinars. But Allison and Jeff are the owners of the company, husband and wife team. And then there's myself and my husband, Andy. So it's really a family focused kind of boutique style company where we work as a team to give our customers and clients the very best service we can. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we are National Social Security advisors. This is my last slide, and then we'll get back to your questions for Caroline and Evan. If you would like to set up a time to talk to us, all of our initial consultations are completely free. What we do is answer any immediate questions that you have. You know, what's keeping you up at night, and what really worries you, and how can we help you? And tell us about your family. Once we hear a little bit more about you and your family and answer the questions that you have, we tell you about our company and how we work and the different planning options we offer. And then we see if we would be a good fit to work together. So you can set up that appointment by using the QR code right there on the screen or calling us. I'm sure everybody knows by now how to use the QR code. You just open the camera app on your phone. You hold up your phone to where you can see that QR code in the camera, and then it will pop up a link. And that link will actually open up to our calendar scheduling system, and you can make an appointment right there. So it's super easy and convenient. And the last thing, down there at the bottom of the screen, you can see our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. All of the webinars that we do, including this one today, get recorded and put on our YouTube channel so that you can watch them if you've missed one, or if you forgot what we said, or if you needed to look at one of our slides again. So we are here for you. So feel free to set up your appointment or check out our pages. So I would like to get back, if we could, to let's go to one of her cool slides. I like these.
Thanks.
Quirkybuds.com. So if you want to reach out to Caroline and quirkybuds.com, there's their contact information as well. So I think that we have Tammy Christopher. She says, Evan, what would you suggest for a 20-year-old to make friends? Where and how do you meet folks?
That's a very good question. I just look at common interests, and for me personally, I mean, not just common interests, but I look for activities to do that pertain to my interests. And like, I mean, because like, I mean, I have, because I mean, me personally, I got into a lot of, I became a big part of a community by joining, but I'm an assistant instructor at a martial arts dojo in Austin, and and then I became a part of a part of that community through my interest in martial arts and doing stuff. But I also have a great teacher there and a great community, so that's something subjective to consider. But like, I mean, there's also I would also recommend trying to look into like hobby shops or comic book stores, or like, I mean, maybe if they're real into history, they could do like historical reenactment, or if they're into computers and stuff, they could then maybe it'd be a good idea to persuade them to look into going to school for that stuff and meeting friends that way. But if they but like, I mean, even then, if they do well in school with computers and stuff, they could find a tutoring job for kids who are younger. And in my experience, kids who are you know, like, I mean, the people on the spectrum have an easier time relating to kids due to maturity levels. That's just a stereotype. That may be a stereotype, but it's my general consensus. So it's just a suggestion. You don't have to follow everything I do. It's just an example.
I think that gives some good examples to get people thinking about different ways that they can look for new friends.
Yeah, I also like, I didn't know you got the assistant job there. That's awesome. But also to use your interests to get employment as well, which I know can be difficult, but also a great way to do that.
Yes, well, I don't get paid for a lot of the martial arts stuff. I just do it because it's what I love doing, and I help people and mentor others, and I get to interact with and it's and it's also a community. It's not just a school.
Yeah, for sure. Which is almost sometimes more important. So that's awesome.
But like, I mean, I also, one thing I do have to say though is that there are some communities that can be toxic, which is what the kids may not be aware of. There's a hobby store in Austin called a hobby store and comic book shop. I won't mention names, but like, I mean, there's a real big one in Austin that's notorious for being filled with nerd bullies, and people, and the community there loves to take advantage of people with disabilities. Like, they pretend to, and like, I mean, they're nice to people with disabilities, but they only want to use them and manipulate them and take them under their wing to mentor them to be bullies too.
Yeah.
Something else
That's
to
kind
be.
of, were you on when I was talking about the power differential?
No, I wasn't. Sorry.
No, that's okay. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that happens a lot where sometimes people take advantage of, you know, trying to make friends and not understanding the difference in that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to change the subject. It's just
No,
something
you're
that
good.
Oh,
address.
that's great. Yeah, another thing that people are talking about in the chat is that, you know, sometimes you have quirky interests, just like quirky buds. Sometimes you love music and geology and dogs, and sometimes you love Barney videos or songs. Hey, that's fine. I mean, one
Yeah,
thing
that's
that
good.
Evan was talking about earlier is that, you know, sometimes you have things in common and sometimes you have things that are different. And I think the best friends are the kinds that have both.
Yeah, I was gonna say to that question too. I think you'd be surprised about some of the interests that folks write in with. And, you know, one of the questions for the adults, the 18 and up, that I ask on the site is like, are you signing up yourself or are you signing up a family member? And so also just, and then, so then also understanding, you know, who is the person that's actually signing this person up, and then kind of understanding, you know, sometimes people will write in like, my child does better with older people, or my child, or like if it is an adult, you know, my son likes people who are younger, or, you know, whatever else. So that way I can just incorporate that. But, you know, there are some interests that I think are quote unquote not age appropriate, but I don't think that would be a total like defer, like, oh, I don't want to be friends with this person. I'm curious, like, Evan, would you be friends with somebody, or like, would that be concerning to you if someone your age was interested in Barney?
No, I'm not but then again, I'm not a judgmental person. I think that's a subjective question. It depends a lot on the individual. But like, I mean, one thing that has become more common is that there are kid shows and kids media that that adults love too, and so and so if you don't and so maybe you could bond over the kids media that adults love too.
Yep, totally. And I
Like,
think like, even if you don't like Barney, like you said, you could like, I don't know, what is
like I love, because like, I mean, a lot of people, there's lots of people who love there's lots of adults who love Power Rangers,
totally, yeah.
and there's lots of adults who love the Avatar cartoons, and as well as My Little Pony,
Yep, that's what I was just, the bronies.
the Brony. There's also yep, and not just that, but like, I mean, kids can also but like, I mean, it doesn't have to be just TV shows or movies. It can also be stuff. It can also be like kids comics and books, like Redwall, well, such as Redwall or Usagi Yojimbo. If you don't know what those are, they're books and comics that are fantasy but with anthropomorphic animals.
I didn't know that.
Very cool.
But
Well, group, we have about 10 minutes left. So if you have any additional questions or comments that you want to get into the chat box, now's the time as we kind of wrap things up. If anyone has anything, Caroline or Evan, if you guys have anything to add, I just want to say real quick that I have really, really enjoyed meeting the two of you today and presenting the information about your company and learning more about you. I really hope that you get a lot more buds signing up from this. And I'm looking forward to telling a lot more people about Quirky Buds in the future as well. So if you have anything else to add.
No, thank you so much. And thanks, Evan, for joining me to talk about friendship from your perspective too. I think it's really helpful.
thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. I apologize for being late.
You're good.
No worries, no worries at all. All right, thank you so much. Like I said, you're going to get a copy of this recording in your email afterwards. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm sure Caroline looks forward to hearing from you, as do I, and enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend. Hey, it's Friday.
Yeah,
Thank you.
happy
Bye.
weekend.
Party. Go.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
See you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.